everybody, Melissa the Homestead Mama, Full House Homesteaders, and we are making homemade biscuits with sausage gravy. And we make breakfast homemade just about every day. So I figured, well, I'll share one of our favorites with y'all. So hang on just a second, I need to stop some background noise. Okay, sorry, I knew I would get some complaints about that background noise. So anyway, homemade biscuits with sausage gravy. This is how I do my homemade biscuits. Go ahead and preheat your oven to about 400. Our oven cooks a little bit hotter, so if it's an oven that cooks a little bit lower, then you might want to preheat it to like 375. But it needs to be around the 400 mark, 425 when it's cooking your biscuits, okay? So this is how I make my homemade biscuits. All right, you're gonna start off with your fat. You're gonna use 4 cups of flour, and to every 4 cups of flour, you're gonna use somewhere around 3/4 to a full cup of fat. Recommended fats are butter, lard, and Crisco. Now I know I don't like to use Crisco, so I'm using a 1/2 cup of that fat as butter. You can't do the whole thing because it will turn your biscuits to mush, but you can do the majority of it, and that's Challenge Organic butter. The other 2 or 3 ounces needs to be either lard or Crisco, okay? So there we go. The butter just melts into the biscuits into nothing, and it doesn't help them keep their shape. They will become scones instead of biscuits, okay? So either lard or Crisco. All right, next up is, grab my paper towels. Next up is your 4 cups of flour. And I use for biscuits because I have not found a recipe that does wheat biscuits very well. So I use King Arthur unbleached, unbromated white flour. It's not a true white flour because it hasn't been bleached. It consists of barley and a few other things. And I'm not a real good person at sticking to measurements. Sometimes the cups are going to be heaping. But that is 4 cups. I'll come back and put the recipe in the description box. 4 cups of flour. And yeah, they're heaping because I'm usually in a hurry. All right, there we go. And I'm a dumper, so you could call these Melissa's dump biscuits. I just dump it all in. You're going to use a 1/3 baking powder. So the baking powder will have an aftertaste to it. You'll taste the baking powder in the biscuits. So we add a 1/3 cup of sugar. And I was not a great biscuit maker until of late. My daughter Kylie made all the biscuits, and that was always our trick. You always throw in sugar to cover that baking powder. All right, so now we're going to use 1 heaping tablespoon of baking powder. And this is aluminum free, Rumsford, non-GMO, and I get this at either a restaurant store, so I can buy it in a 5-pound container, or online through a place like Emergency Essentials. Okay, and then we're going to do a pinch of salt, and this is your pink Himalayan sea salt, and that's really just all you need is a pinch. And then I'm going to do some milk and some water, and it's going to be about a cup. So let me wash this off. So I combine my milk and water to make a cup of liquid. This is 2/3 cup of water. Fill the rest up to the full cup mark with milk. So that's a 1/3 cup of milk. And right now we're not milking, so I like to buy the Fairlife. They're grass-fed, no hormones. All right, now from here on out it's all hands. It is a hands-on recipe. My hands are clean. If y'all don't like using your hands, you probably would not enjoy the way I cook. And to be totally honest with you, a lot of the times I don't measure either. So that's how I was raised. My grandmother never measured anything, and so I just learned to cook from her. All right, so I can tell that's going to be a little too dry. So I'm going to add about a 1/2 cup of water. Oh, you know what? I was in such a hurry, I almost forgot one of my ingredients. 1 egg. That's probably why it's dry. Put a little water to that egg so it mixes in.
Everybody's saying good morning.
Good morning. Yeah, this recipe is different. It calls for an egg. I almost forgot that. A lot of biscuit recipes do not call for eggs, so that makes it a little bit different, but it's the best biscuit recipe I have come up with for our house. That the biscuits taste like store-bought biscuits, actually. They're light, they're fluffy. Okay, if y'all can't see, it's becoming a really good biscuit dough. See that right there? Okay. So I did not have to add that other water, that half a cup of water, because it was the biscuit that was, the egg that was missing. So I have mommy brain and we just woke up, so if I am not speaking clearly, do forgive me. There we go. There, it's a good, tacky, stick to your fingers biscuit dough. It is perfect. I'm going to wipe the counter off a little bit. All right, now, throw some flour down. Dump that out. I do not knead it until it is just kneaded to death. I just knead it until that I see everything is incorporated, and your biscuit dough, to make a good biscuit, needs to look cobbled, somewhat like a scone. So see how there's all these bumps, and it looks like a, the cobblestone's kind of a, and I don't even use a rolling pin. I used to roll them out, but they do not rise light and fluffy when the dough has been kneaded to death. So if you truly want a good homemade biscuit, don't even fool with a rolling pin. Just press it out with your hands. Bam! The more you work that flour, the tougher it gets. So when you go, your end product is going to be this hard, chewy. You don't want that. You want light, fluffy, kind of like a store biscuit. So just don't knead it to death, and I don't even fool with rolling it out. Next step, mason jar. Oop. And I do flour our pan just with a sprinkle of flour. There we go.
Birch Farm Homestead said yummy.
Good morning. All right. Everybody say thank you to my husband who's been wonderful in filming me this morning. Okay, so we've got a good thickness. Another thing, don't press your biscuits out, whether you roll them or press them with your hand, until they are crackers, because that's what they will be in the oven. They're not going to rise like, to be the Eiffel Tower or something. So don't press them out till they're just, I think the common recommendation in a recipe book is 1/4 or 1/2 of an inch. Bull crap, make them an inch. If you want them to be like bam, leave them thick.
RJ Texas said make a biscuit for him.
Oh, we're going to cover also sausage gravy this morning, and we are using deer sausage. And I know a lot of y'all like to follow the biblical eating laws. So for those of you who are either doing like the maker's diet, or who just in their everyday walk with the Lord follow a biblical diet and do not eat pork, yeah, thank you. We have
Deer sausage.
Deer sausage. We were blessed with our oldest son. He shot 3 deer this year.
And we found a good deer processor.
And we found an awesome deer processor. Awesome. We were like, wow. We did have one bad deer processor that was, we thought we weren't even going to get our meat back. We took it to him, and it took him 2 months to get us our meat. When we got our meat back, it was like, ugh. We do have the ability with our meat grinder and stuff, we can process our own deer, but with so many kids around and so much work to do, it's a lot easier to take it to a processor if you've got a good one. I'm going to tell you a secret that I do too. I usually keep this leftover dough, and I put it in a baggie, and I stick it in the freezer, and then whenever I get ready to make cinnamon rolls, anytime we make pizza, it doesn't matter if the dough is based with a yeast rising or a baking powder rising. I throw all of it together in a gallon-sized freezer bag, all the scraps. And then once we get ready to make once the gallon bag is full, I pull it out and I roll it out, and we use that for homemade cinnamon rolls. Best cinnamon rolls you have ever had, made off of these little pieces of scrap dough. So I'll just stick that over there, and I'll put that in the freezer later. So we have 3, 6, 9, 12, 13. We'll make one more biscuit. 14. There we go. So that recipe of 4 cups of flour.
They look purty.
They do look pretty. Thank you, baby.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so they're going to go in the oven. Another thing is always put your biscuits. What are you doing to me, baby? Always put your biscuits or whatever bread you're making on the top rack. A lot of beginner cooks or people who have not baked a lot of things put them in the middle, and the bottom will burn, especially when you're cooking on 400, 425. So top rack. All right. Look at this awesome skillet that my husband picked up. We went to a sale, like kind of like a flea market. But we're not using that one this morning. I just wanted to show it off. Okay, so now we're gonna make deer sausage gravy. So you wanna come over here, baby? I'll rinse my hands. Okay, I can hold that. I can get that. All right.
Go away.
Okay. Jacob, I thought you opened this jar for me. Ugh. Crazy. Okay. So we're going to put a scoop of coconut oil in there because deer is very lean. And again, this is going to be a great gravy recipe for those of y'all. I say a scoop. It's more like 2 tablespoons. This is a great way to get your sausage if you really like sausage, but you don't eat pork. So if you are following the biblical eating guidelines, it's a really good way to. So just have someone slaughter you a deer, and you can turn the whole deer into deer sausage. We did. We turned almost the entire deer into deer sausage because we love sausage, and we really don't like to buy it at the store because it's so, one, it's expensive, 2, it's very unhealthy. So we're going to get that melting. Woo! We cook a lot, so there is no telling what's on this stove. I'm going to switch eyes so it's not smoking on you. Go back here. There we go. And it's a little bit darker because your sausage from the store, you notice, will have a lot of gray to it. I hate to tell you this, but that's mainly because it's made with brains. The color of the meat will tell you what part of the meat it comes from. So this is a brown meat, so you can see it comes from a red meated animal. But, well, that's smoking too. Oh, I know. I cleaned the stove, and I probably got a little cleaner on it when it was, you know. Is it easier for you to see here or here?
Just get to cooking.
Okay. All right. So there we go. So it's going to be brown or red. Again, the reason sausage at the store is oftentimes really gray is because it's made with a lot of brains.
Hog brains?
Hog brains.
Okay.
Yeah, they use, whenever you're looking at one of those meats from the store that's all ground up, they throw anything and everything in there, from skin to cartilage to the back end, tongues, eyeballs, anything that they can't, you know, cut and sell, they throw into that mushed up meat. Mystery meat. Okay, I'm going to let that kind of brown, throw this away, and wash my hands. So you can go in the bathroom and grab me a clean towel, please.
I think you have the wrong eye.
Yes, I do. Okay, we're going back to this one. If it smokes a little bit, that's okay. Real life kitchen. Okay, so, and I have to thank Ben's mama because she gave me this sausage gravy recipe. It's one of his favorite things to eat. Sausage gravy usually has white gravy with it. This is not going to turn out exactly white. Thank you. This gravy recipe will not turn out, even though it's made with flour, white flour, or if you use the unbleached white flour. It's not being made in a regular steel skillet. It's being made in a cast iron skillet, so it takes on a little bit of the cast iron color. It's a little bit browner is what I'm trying to say.
It cooks pretty fast though.
And if it's just a regular type of meat that you wanted to use, let's say you had ground beef, I guess you could do that and flavor it like sausage. I don't know how good it would taste, but this is a red meat that we're using. He does, I think, process it with a little bit of hog fat so that it's not to kill the deer wild game flavor. Okay, while this is cooking, I'm going to get together the rest of my gravy components. So we're going to use a quart jar, and I'm going to fill that up with cold water.
Yeah.
That measures up 2 cups of water. To that 2 cups of water, I'm going to make sure it's cold water. I'm going to add 2 tablespoons of the white flour. This has to be cold or you will end up with lumpy gravy. You're going to whisk the flour, the 2 cups of water, and the 2 heaping tablespoons of flour together. Once that flour looks pretty well dissolved, now it'll kind of collect at the bottom, but it's pretty well dissolved. You're sure there's no way it could be lumpy. I'm going to add just a touch of milk. I don't know how much. I'll say about 1/4 cup. That's probably about 2 ounces.
Thank you.
To that, I'm going to add 2 pinches of salt. 1, 2. That's probably not quite a teaspoon. And my pepper, I just sprinkle it in until I think I have a good amount. And that's a good amount. It's kind of peppery. Good sausage gravy is peppery. And my baby likes pepper, so that's about 2 ounces of milk, 2 cups of cold water. Has to be cold or you're going to end up with lumps.
Is pepper good for you or bad for you?
It's actually really good for you. And Stonewall Jackson, that was one of his favorite ways to stay healthy. Was he had a lot of pepper and he ate raw lemons. He ate a lot of raw lemons. He carried pepper, black pepper, and lemons everywhere he went. All right, so we're just about ready to add what makes our gravy, which is really easy and it's so inexpensive. That is flour, milk, water, salt, and pepper. You cannot get any easier than that. Depending on how much grease is in the bottom of this pan, I may or may not drain it off. If it's very little, I will not drain it. If it's kind of greasy to where when you make the gravy, the grease sits on top, then I'm definitely going to strain it. But it doesn't look like it's actually producing a whole lot of grease, and the grease will have the flavor of the meat in it. And we all know that good fat helps keep us healthy, strong, things like that. Okay, take a look at the biscuits, baby. So See how thick they are? See how they're rising to be a nice, good looking homemade biscuit, okay? Our meat is almost completely brown. Can you get in there and see that? There right there is a lot of the juice, but it's probably more liquid than it is grease, I can tell. So I'm not going to strain this because it's very little. If it were a pork sausage, you would have to strain it because the grease can overtake the gravy. So there we go. Maybe you can see better now. So remember your gravy components, your flour, your water, your milk, salt and pepper, are so easy. Once we get it in here and start cooking the gravy part of it, we may have to add a little more water or flour. It's just like making a homemade cake. Every time it could be a little bit different. May need to throw in an extra tablespoon of flour, maybe need to throw in a little bit of water. We'll see. Okay. It's pretty much done. Alright, another way to keep from getting a bunch of lumps is to make sure you still are whisking that water and flour as you're pouring it in. There. High. Now there is some of the juice in there, some of that is grease, but not much. We're going to crank it up to high. We're going to get it to boiling, and we're basically done. That is a very healthy, homemade country breakfast. It's one of our favorites. We have it a lot. Just need to get that to boiling. Now I'm going to get my spoon. Excuse me. There we go. I like these big fat spoons because they make nice gravy dippers. I found this at a flea market too, by the way. I don't ever see these in the store. I don't know exactly how long it is that your biscuits cook. It's around 20 minutes. I don't think I said that. But as long as you're around 400 degrees, it's about 20 minutes. And you just have to check on them, just like anything else, to make sure that they're turning out okay. I don't think we're going to have to add any extra flour to this. I think this is going to turn out just fine. This gravy's looking like it's thickening up okay. It doesn't need to be as thick as glue. It doesn't also need to be as watery as, say, like, you know, it doesn't need to look like milk. It's not going to be as white as other gravies. It's just slightly tinted, a little bit darker because of the cast iron skillet, maybe the meat. Okay, you need to get it to a boiling point. That's when the thickening action actually starts.
What size is the skillet, they say?
This skillet, I don't know a lot about it. I've looked into it. On the bottom, all the information's torn off. I would say it's a 10-inch skillet. Let me compare it to a plate. I actually burned my kitchen down when I was 14 with this skillet. When I say burned it down, I mean we had to go live in a hotel. I burned that joker down.
How old was you?
14. I was trying to teach myself how to cook, and there we go. We want it to boil for a minute to thicken that gravy up. What do you think, baby? A little more flour to make it thicker? It's a little bit runny.
You to cook, I'm just eating.
Well, it's still a little bit runny.
Well, thicken it up. You want it thicker?
Well, I want to make you happy. So, if you're going to add more thickener to it, you have to add more
Better hurry.
water. So
Don't
we're going to
scorch.
add another tablespoon and just a little bit of water. Let's turn it down just a hair. Alright, let me show you. You have to incorporate that flour and water so that you do not have lumps. If you do not do that, you're going to end up with lumpy gravy. So cold water always.
You can slide it off that eye, cool it off.
Pour that in. I just put a little bit of water in there with another tablespoon. Okay, we're done. It is done. You want to get a close-up of it? And okay, see, now it's a little bit thicker. The consistency is a little bit, I want to say, richer.
Yeah, it looks great.
Look at that.
Ooh la la.
Okay, so we're going to set this over here, and our biscuits should be about done. Look at that. Woo! Okay. Let me pull them out. I want them to be able to see. Okay. Okay, so they're not quite done, but you can see how they've popped in the middle and they're starting to really get some height on them. So I'm going to turn them around. This is another thing I like to do is I like to turn my pan so that whatever was in the front is now in the back and the back and the front so that they cook a little more evenly. So there that is. So those will be coming out in about 5 minutes, maybe not even 5 minutes. So is there any questions on this recipe or any other homemade country breakfast kind of things? We do bacon and eggs a lot. We do homemade biscuits. We do pancakes. We do. Ben is an excellent omelet maker. We're gonna have to do a video with him making omelets because he's an excellent omelet maker. I can't think of a whole lot of the breakfasts that we do, but we do homemade breakfast almost every day. If we do cereal, it's like a special thing. So, let's see. We'll let this sit, and it will actually thicken as it sits, but that looks just great. That is, I'm really impressed with that. So, any questions? No? Okay. That's your coffee. I accidentally got yours.
The blue one's mine.
Are you sure?
Mm-hmm.
Did you put sugar in mine?
Mm-hmm.
Bad boy. Okay. Well, I guess we could just wrap this up unless anybody else has any questions. Or we can do it all the way to the end. If y'all have time, we can go all the way to the end and I'll fix up a plate. We serve the gravy on top of biscuits, cut them in half, open them up, and that's how we serve it. And they are almost ready, so they got about 2 minutes. They just need to get lightly golden on top, not brown. We don't like our biscuits hard. That's another thing a mistake that people make. They'll let them cook too long and then they lose that good texture because they're a little bit too hard. They don't need to brown. They need to be golden in places, but not brown. Not golden brown. Just, they need to have a hint of blonde to the top of them. So, come here, Jacob.
Put some stuff away. Clean.
All right, yeah, we can pick up. Come here.
Hold up. There.
Okay. All right, this is Jacob, the deer slayer, and our sausage would not be possible without his efforts. He's a great shot. He shot 3, what were they? A 4-point and 2?
No.
6, a 7, I mean a 7, and a 9.
A 7, a 7, and a 9. Give me the line of 4-point. I was going to sell you short. I'm sorry. But that's where we get our sausage. And again, that's a great way to have sausage if y'all are following a biblical diet or if you don't want to eat pork for health reasons. Our biscuits should be ready. And for those of y'all that have large families, I'm going to tell you these plates that I ordered from Amazon, you can get like 24 of them, I think, for like $10. And these are stainless steel. The kids cannot break them. I highly advise a pewter, a steel, some type of plate that doesn't fall apart. All right, these are perfect. Let me get something to put this on. There we go. Check that out.
Pop one open.
All right. I don't do a lot of cooking videos, so I'm sorry I'm not as prepared. So you can see, take a look at that. See how they pop open in the middle? Woo, that's exactly what you want. They are just perfect. I mean, that looks like a biscuit.
Well, pop one open, put some gravy on it, show them what's up.
Okay. All right, so bam. Nice, flaky, just like what you would get in a biscuit from a restaurant. Come get a close up. And that's how we serve our sausage gravy and homemade biscuits from start to finish. I hope that encourages y'all to help yourselves cook and do some homemade recipes for your home.
Eat healthy.
And eat healthy, yes. This is, you have no preservatives in this. You're avoiding so many of the things that, the chemicals that they put in the food, that they keep to keep the food red, to keep it fresh, and to kill the salmonella. And I'm gonna give you this little thing. If you have not seen, I think it was Food Inc. They actually take the meat into a room before they send it to Walmart or wherever because it has to sit for so long. And they wash it with ammonia. What you mop your floors with, pine salt, they wash the meat with ammonia because they have to kill the listeria, the salmonella, and the E. coli, and that's the only way to do it. And they have the rooms in the meat packing plants that are labeled washroom, and when they take it in there, they hang it up, and it's just sprayed like with a water hose of ammonia. So if you can get to cooking for your family, it is so much healthier for them. Think about all the cancers we have now. I mean, it won't be long and we'll all have some form of odd cancer because of what they're spraying or putting in our food. So I hope that encourages y'all to do something healthy for your family, and I hope you enjoy the recipe. If you do make it, please come on here, leave a comment. Let me know if you like it. Let me know if your family likes it. Y'all have a great day.
Homestead Mama.
Don't forget to check out our website, homesteadmama.org.